Now that you know how easy it is to make things appear inside of a web browser, it's time to learn about markup languages, specifically HTML. HTML is an initialism that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, there's two parts to this, hypertext and markup language. However, we're going to focus on the markup language part first. A markup language is not the same as a programming language. When we use a programming language, we're describing how something should behave. Rather, markup languages are used to annotate and add semantic structure or meaning to a text document. So fundamentally, you can think about a web page in terms of text, with markup added on top. The general concept and term markup evolved from the idea of a book editor or writing instructor marking up a document with a pen or pencil, similar to what you might remember from school. However, HTML isn't intended to suggest corrections to text. Rather, it structures and shapes the text in a way that makes it easier to understand, both for people like you and me, as well as for the software that interprets the markup. As an example, HTML is markup language that is interpreted by a web browser. So let's try an example. Let's look at some normal text, and then we'll figure out how we might mark this up with HTML. This text is describing one of the elements and principles of art, but really, this text could be about anything. You might create a web page about your favorite Shakespeare quotes, how to make pizza, practice and procedure for a work environment, or anything you want. Now let's examine this text. At the top, we have what looks like a header that describes the content of our page. And below it, we have a few paragraphs that go into detail on the subject. However, as is, there's no way for a web browser to determine what part of this text is a header and what parts are paragraphs. We can remedy this situation by applying what are called tags. A single tag looks like this. There's an opening angle bracket, a very specific set of text inside, and then a closing angle bracket. There are many tags like this, but with some practice, it should be fairly easy for you to remember most of them without having to look them up. Now, this tag we're looking at is called a headline tag. We'll talk more about headline tags in an upcoming video, but for now, all we really need to know is that this tag is intended to mark large headlines. Here's another tag. This one is called a paragraph tag, and you'll sometimes hear it referred to as a P tag for short. Now, let's take these two tags and revisit the text that we were just looking at. For the header up at the top of this text, we want to add our first level headline tags. So we'll go ahead and put our insertion point there, and we'll type a first level headline tag, just like that. Now, we've marked up the start of our headline, but how will the computer know where our headline ends? Well, tags almost always come in pairs. We have what's called our opening tag, right here, but we need to finish wrapping this text by adding in a closing tag. A closing tag looks just like an opening tag, but with the addition of a / right after the first angle bracket. So we'll type our opening angle bracket, our /, and then H1 for the first level headline. Now, we need to use the paragraph tag to wrap our two paragraphs here. Just like the headline, we will use an opening P tag and a closing P tag. So we'll go ahead and type our opening P tag, and we'll close it. And then we want a second paragraph, so we'll open another paragraph tag, and then we'll skip to the end and go ahead and close it. And then we can save our file, and we could check it out in the browser.